Hi, it's Nick from the Run Testers, and today I'm going to be talking about two of the most exciting racing shoes on the market, the Nike Vaporfly NEXT and the Nike Alphafly NEXT. So the Alphafly is the new top dog in Nike's line. It's their premium racing shoe with a carbon plate, and it's a successor to the Vaporfly NEXT, which in itself was a successor to the Vaporfly 4%. Now I love this shoe. Still got a lot of PBs that still stand from this shoe, but the newer ones are an improvement both in terms of performance and durability, I think. And I don't think you can buy this from Nike anymore now anyway. So we're just going to focus on the Vaporfly NEXT and the Alphafly in this video. When it comes to key stats, both have a stack that's legal under the new rulings from World Athletics. So it's kind of 40mm in a size US 8.5. The stack's higher in bigger shoes and lower in smaller shoes. The drop is different between the two shoes. The NEXT has a drop of 8mm from heel to toe, whereas the Alphafly is only 4mm. Now, I didn't know that when I was first running in the shoe, and it surprised me to hear that it was such a reasonably low drop. It didn't feel like that to me. But there you go, 4mm. Price is also different. The Alphafly is more expensive. It's £260, minus 5 pennies in the UK. And I think it's $275 in the US. The Vaporfly is £240 in the UK and $250. The weight is also fairly substantially different. Mine are size 9 shoes in the UK. There are obviously Nike's official weights. I've weighed both of these shoes in my kitchen, and the Vaporfly comes in just under 200 grams, kind of just under 7 ounces, whereas the Alphafly comes in at 232 grams, 8.1 ounces. It's significantly heavier, and it's not hard to see why, given the kind of massive chunk of cushioning. Okay, next up we're going to dive into the design and fit of the two shoes, and then we'll go on to how they actually feel to run in. So when it comes to design, the differences start with the upper with these two shoes. The NEXT Vaporfly has a vapor weave upper, which is this kind of very thin but very strong material, slightly water repellent, and has this kind of offset lacing system that allows for a really tight fit around the midfoot. You can actually really crank it with these shoes. The Alphafly has an atom knit upper, which is loosely related to fly knit, but it's tighter than fly knit. It doesn't feel like a sock. It feels quite like the vapor weave upper, to be honest. The mesh is very open. It's very breathable. Water is kind of meant to drain rather than kind of be repelled. And it's got slightly offset laces, but they're slightly more relaxed on this shoe, I'd say. It's easier to adjust them, but you can still get that tight fit quite quickly and easily. Both shoes are very comfortable for me to wear for long periods, whether it's marathons in the Vaporfly or kind of just a long run I've done in the Alphafly. No hot spots, reasonably enough room in the toe box for a racing shoe. So I think they're both really good uppers. There's nothing really to kind of give it to either one of them on that front. The midsoles of the shoes both use Nike's ZoomX, very bouncy, very lightweight foam, and they pair it with a carbon plate, of course. But the biggest difference probably between the shoes is found in the Air Zoom pods on the Alphafly. These are in the forefoot. They're firmer, they're slightly more responsive than ZoomX foam, and they kind of change the feel of the shoe when you're running. The Vaporfly has kind of ZoomX foam throughout, and you should know it's just brilliant, but it's a bit different to those Air Zoom pods. There is also a pretty big difference in the weight between the shoes. There are obviously Nike's official stats. I've weighed both kind of in my kitchen there, and the Vaporfly comes in at just under 200 grams and just under 7 ounces, whereas the Alphafly is 232 grams, kind of 8.1 ounces. It's a fair bit heavier. When it comes to the fit of the shoe, I'm true to size in both of these. I wear size 9 in both. I found both really comfortable. Like I say, no hot spots when I'm running in them. Enough room in the toe box. I would suggest going true to size in both of these shoes. Right, let's get down to the really important stuff. What does it feel like to run in these shoes? Both of them are brilliant. I think they're both really got a pretty strong case for being the two best shoes out there at the moment. I've done my best half and my best marathon in the Vaporfly NEXT, even if it wasn't my quickest marathon. I kind of did it on an undulating course in Loch Ness. I've also run kind of races for over 5k and 10k distance, And although it took me a little bit of time to really embrace it compared to the 4%, just because of how much I love that shoe, yeah, I really come to love this one as well, even if the lime green doesn't really suit me. It's a fantastic shoe to run in. It's fast, bouncy, lightweight, a little bit more stable than the 4%, thanks to kind of that slightly wider kind of forefoot on it. And then the Alphafly, I kind of fell in love with on my second run, actually. I was a little bit ready to take against it just because it is, it's not the best looking shoe in my opinion. That stack does look like it's going to be really unwieldy, but once you start running at pace, it feels fantastic, and these Air Zoom pods do make a big difference. The shoe kind of really gets you onto your toes quickly, and the firmer feel of these Air Zoom pods does kind of provide a more explosive toe off, I think, than the Next %. So I kind of ran for a week in the shoe. I've done kind of 70k in it now over different paces. And then I went back to the Vaporfly for a kind of a speed session, doing some kind of 400 meter efforts, and then followed by a kind of fast 3k. And it does feel different, I have to say. It still feels brilliant. It's still one of the, one of the best shoes out there, but I do kind of prefer that kind of slightly firmer feel in the forefoot of the Alphafly. I also thought this shoe wouldn't be great over short distances compared to the Vaporfly, just because it is so large and unwieldy, and there is that big weight difference. But I did a kind of all-out 5k in it yesterday, and yeah, it feels really good. Like, that 5k was pretty straight and flat. I do think that's important in the shoe, especially turning corners. You don't want to be doing that too often with that kind of stack, but it's really fast. Like, it runs faster than its weight, and it certainly runs faster than how it looks. You could definitely do your short races in this as well. There is still a case for saying that the Vaporfly would have the edge in short races just if there's a lot of turns. And also, I think there's also a case that lighter, smaller runners than me might just think this is too much shoe for them, especially when it's, weighs kind of comfortably over 200 grams. So there is that to consider. This is a more stable shoe. It's not the most stable shoe out there. Obviously, it's still got a reasonably high stack, but if you're doing a lot of turns on a 5k course, you might lean towards this over the Alphafly. And even over a 10k course as well. I think once you get to longer distances, I do think this is just a better cruiser at your kind of half marathon and marathon race pace. I think this is going to be an improvement on the Vaporfly for kind of just cruising along at that fast pace and trying to hold it, over those long distances races. I do think it's a step up. It's probably a bigger step up than I thought it was going to be, if I'm honest. I'm really impressed by the Alphafly. One slight weird thing about this shoe, though, is that every start of every single run, I get a little bit of arch pain in my right foot that goes away after a few minutes. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that. It's not a problem. Like I say, it goes away, but just a little bit weird. Moving on to durability, obviously always a big thing with these kind of carbon plate, soft cushion shoes. Kind of originally it was suggested that the early Vaporflies would only last kind of 100 miles, 150 miles. I always think that's been a bit overstated. I've got a pair of Vaporfly 4% I've used for at least 300, 400 miles, and they still feel pretty damn good to run in, I have to say. I think it's got better with the range as well. I do think the Next %, I've done kind of a marathon in, at least one half marathon, a few 10Ks, and it really hasn't changed the feel of the shoe so far to me. It must be 120k in it or so now, and it feels pretty much as good as it did out of the box. No kind of real signs of wear and tear on the outsole, apart from kind of one little spot that I seem to take off on all of these shoes. Alphafly, similarly, there's a lot of rubber on that outsole at the front. I do think this is going to last probably not a lot different to most of your trainers, a few hundred miles. Again, I've taken off a little bit of rubber on the same spot. I guess just going a little bit kind of loose, gravelly trail at one point on my runs. But yeah, after 70k, there's really nothing on the shoe that suggests that it's going to be falling apart. And I certainly haven't felt any loss of bounce in the midsole from either the kind of Zoom X foam or the Air Zoom pods. I think they're both pretty good. Like, they're still really expensive. I don't know what your pound per mile is going to be, but you are going to be saving these shoes for your kind of key training sessions and then your races, really. You're not going to be using these every day. So I guess the verdict is that I do think the Alphafly is a bigger upgrade than I expected on the Vaporfly, especially over those long distance runs. And just really, it's surprising to me how good it is when you're up at pace. It does feel a little unwieldy when you're running kind of easy miles in it, but it's not designed for easy miles. It's also not really designed for kind of cambers or sharp turns. So there is a case where if you're not on that kind of pristine asphalt course where you're going flat and you're turning very few times in your race, if you are going to take on a more niggly course, then maybe the Vaporfly will be a better option then, you know, if you've already kind of got one in your arsenal. Probably not going to buy both of these right now. I think there might be a case that some people will just be put off by the size and look of the Alphafly and just think, and the weight, it is considerably heavier than the Vaporfly. I didn't really feel that when I was running, but I think if you're a, you know, pretty lightweight, small runner, you might just fancy the Vaporfly more, and I wouldn't blame you for that. It's still a fantastic shoe. It's still a very fast shoe. It's still going to help you set, you know, your fastest times over kind of any distance. But for me, the Alphafly does just edge it, and I think I would probably spend the kind of extra 20 pounds or whatever it is, $25, and get it if I was buying just one of them today. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching. Do let us know in the comments below if you have any questions about either shoe, and if you want them compared to any other shoes. We'll do our best to get that video out to you. Do please like and subscribe and ring the little bell wherever it is, so it'll let you know when we launch a new video. There are a lot of very exciting shoes coming out at the moment, and you're going to want to hear about them. So that's that. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.